October the 19th, 1987. On that single day, the London stock market fell more than 10%. New York lost over 22%, and Hong Kong 45%. In 24 hours, global markets shed roughly $1.5 trillion of value. It remains the largest single-day percentage drop in stock market history, and it happened almost entirely without warning. But why? Well, to understand Black Monday, you have to understand the 1980s.
The music is amazing here.
Unstoppable! That is a crushing song.
The decade before the crash was extraordinary. In Britain, Margaret Thatcher had come to power in 1979, and her government had one defining mission: to let markets rip. Industries were privatized, regulations were stripped away, and in 1986, something called the Big Bang transformed the City of London overnight. Fixed commissions were abolished, foreign banks flooded in, screens replaced the trading floor, and London's finance centre, which had barely changed in a century, was suddenly catapulted into a modern global game that it barely understood. For a while, it was glorious. The FTSE 100 index had been launched in 1984. By the summer of 1987, it had already doubled. Bonuses were stratospheric. Young, yuppie traders in red braces were becoming millionaires. But underneath all that swagger, something was being built behind the scenes that nobody fully understood. You see, over in America, investment banks had developed something called portfolio insurance. This was a computer-driven strategy designed to protect large investors against losses. The idea was simple. If markets start falling, the computer system starts selling. That was to cut your exposure and limit your downside. It sounded responsible, even very cautious and logical. But in reality, it was a catastrophe waiting to happen. Because here's the problem with automated selling. If the market falls and triggers a sell-off, then that selling triggers a further fall, which triggers more selling, and so it goes on, down and down. By October 1987, between $60 and $100 billion was protected by portfolio insurance strategies. In other words, billions of dollars loaded up with automatic sell orders, primed and waiting. But nobody knew what would happen if they all fired at once, and that was the problem. The trouble started on the 14th of October. The US trade deficit numbers came in worse than expected and markets fell sharply. Over the next 2 days, they fell further. So, by the end of that week, the Dow had dropped almost 10% in 3 days. Then, something weird happened. Something that nobody had planned for. The Great Storm. A real storm. Wind, rain, lightning, and thunder. What a metaphor for what was about to happen. In the early hours of Friday, the 16th of October, the worst storm in nearly 3 centuries tore across southern England. 18 people died. 15 million trees were felled overnight. And the London Stock Exchange was forced to close. So, while traders in New York were selling on the back of the poor trade deficit numbers, traders in London were made to wait. 2 days of anxiety and falling New York prices, and nowhere to put the trade. That meant when London opened on Monday morning, the pent-up pressure was enormous. From the opening bell, it was chaos, and the FTSE dropped fast. As London fell, it fueled even more fear in New York, which was just preparing to open. Panic spread, and New York started to fall too. Meanwhile, the portfolio insurance computers went into overdrive. Sell orders poured in faster than the systems could handle. The New York Stock Exchange was overwhelmed. Some specialists simply stopped answering their phones, while on the options market in Chicago, trading effectively seized up entirely. The Dow Jones fell 508 points in a single day, over 22%. To put that in perspective, in 1929, the crash that triggered the Great Depression saw the market fall by 12% in a day. So Black Monday was nearly twice as bad as that. And unlike 1929, it happened globally. Because the world's markets were now connected via computers in a way they'd never been before. When New York sneezed, the rest of the world didn't catch a cold. it caught the flu. Hong Kong fell 45%, Australia 41%, Canada 22%. This was the first truly global market crash, and it happened so fast that most ordinary investors didn't even understand what had hit them. The boom, the glorious, brash, shoulder-padded boom of the mid-80s was over in an afternoon, and yet somehow, the world didn't end. This is the part that surprises most people. The Federal Reserve, under its new chairman Alan Greenspan, who had been in the job for exactly 2 months, responded immediately. The Fed issued a one-sentence statement guaranteeing liquidity to the financial system, meaning banks could borrow whatever they needed and the panic could stop. Within 2 years, markets had fully recovered, and the crash that looked like the end of the world had, in economic terms, turned out to be just a very sharp and painful market correction. Yes, it hurt, but it wasn't catastrophic. So why does Black Monday still matter? Because it was the moment the financial world discovered something genuinely new. Not a new form of greed, not a new kind of fraud, but a new kind of fragility. For centuries, markets crashed because people panicked, because rumors spread, because trust collapsed. Black Monday showed that markets could now crash because of a computer system not doing what was intended. And bizarrely, that problem didn't go away. In 2010, a flash crash briefly wiped nearly $1 trillion from US markets in minutes before prices snapped back. When investigators looked into it, they found that it happened in part due to automated trading algorithms reacting to each other in a loop that was almost identical to 1987. But by then, the machines had become even faster, the positions even larger, and the connections even tighter. The markets recovered from the flash crash, but the fundamental question that Black Monday posed, which is what happens when the system itself becomes the source of the panic, still remains unanswered.